Hey everyone, I am Shelley Zalis, the CEO of the Female Quotient and co-founder of See Her. And today I'm so excited to be here with New York Festivals and introducing the See Her Lens Award. See Her is all about the accurate and realistic portrayal of girls and women in media and advertising. And when you think about the accurate and realistic portrayal of girls and women, it's not just about what we see in front of the camera, but it's also about what is behind the camera and storytelling, and also shining the light and the spotlight on female founders. And today, I am so excited to be talking to two incredible female founders.
Thank you so much, Shelley. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm Kaity Potak. This is Rachel Geller. We're the co-founders of Moons, a new body care, menstrual care brand that we launched last year. But before that, we were creative directors in advertising, and everything that you're speaking to is so near and dear to our hearts, both because of everything that we worked for in our careers as managers, as creative directors, as chief creative officers, and now that we've started our own company in a space exclusively for menstruators, for women, for girls. It's at the top of all of our conversations, and as you hinted, how we change language and how that shifts culture. So we're just thrilled to be here with New York Festivals and can't wait to dive in with you.
Yes, really, it's an honor to be here. I always wondered how both of my existences would cross, where, you know, as a former creative director for 25 years and now a female founder, and I always knew that there was a space for this conversation, and what an honor it is to have it with you and with New York Festivals, and to talk about female representation across all lenses in advertising and media and business and fundraising. There's so many underrepresented categories, and we're making strides, so we have such a long way to go. So every conversation like this gets us a little bit further. So thank you.
I just, you know, when you talked about the intersection of coming from the advertising business and as a creative, and then launching a new product and talking about language and how language matters, I find that so fascinating, especially talking about menstruation and lexicon and storytelling. Talk about that journey and why you find this intersection so relevant, so important, and why it matters so much, especially right now.
I can dive in because Rachel was an art director, SVA trained, and I was a copywriter. So, you know, we really come at it from the full branding lens, but we'll talk about the box and the look and the feel and everything in a moment.
Which is stunning, by the way.
Thank you. But yeah, lexicon is so important to us. I think it's from a history in advertising where every problem starts with a brief, and you're given background, and you're given information about people, and you're given research, and you start with real insights, and then you build beauty and emotion out of that. And so our insight was twofold, really. One, again, we started with a product, and so the original insight was our menstrual care isn't supporting us in the way that it should from a physical product efficacy standpoint. But then it's certainly not supporting us from a look and feel, from an aesthetics, from an information, from an education, and from a language standpoint. And so we feel really, really strongly that there's a real opportunity for culture shift in language. I think we use the word period, we use the word PMS, we use all of these things that are culturally created in and of themselves. Menstruation is the scientific term. But we use all these euphemisms, and we create these sideways ways to talk about this experience in a way that I think creates a buffer between all of us and the experience itself. And that buffer, I think it creates a real problematic gap between comprehension and empathy. And so we rely on euphemisms, we rely on cliches. And our goal at Moons is to kind of like break all of that down. We talk about, instead of the word period, we call it our monthly moon. We use menstruation, we use scientific terms all of the time, but one of our goals is to introduce this new lexicon as a sort of easier on-ramp to the conversation. Because if you can feel comfortable, it's so much easier for people to say, I'm on my moon, rather than, well, I'm on my period. Like, that's a bummer, and it's a shame that it's a bummer, it's a shame. But there's serious cultural baggage behind it, and we think that by offering a new way to talk about it, we can invite more people into a conversation that's more comfortable. And in that space of comfort, we can educate and we can teach people the truth about this and create space for growth.
And not making it a taboo topic or a stereotype. And by the way, not shrinking and pinking something. I mean, like your choice of using navy blue, which is so strong and bold and brave, is just awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, all of the choices that we make are so highly considered. Every word that we use, every design choice that we make. And the navy blue was really us taking back the power of blue. Like, why are colors gendered? It's shrinking and pinking, sparkling, glitter cannons. That's not how we ever want to operate our perspective. And so the midnight blue was also representative of the midnight sky and the lunar cycles being so intuitively linked to the menstrual cycle and the ocean tides and how natural and powerful this experience is. And so what Kaity was talking about is the language, is that when we started this, it was to make better products. When we dove deep into this, it was to fix the culture. It is still stigmatized. Why? The conversation has always been so doom and gloom. We say menstrual cycles are superpowers because they are. And if we can get the next generation to start feeling empowered by their cycles and understanding their cycles and embracing being a cycling person, that's power. It is not dark. It doesn't need to be a secret. There's one quote that I always say from a book that we've been reading. We've been reading all of the books around menstruation. And one of them, which is very much tied to advertising and women in business, is that we are taught that we are going to bleed. We're maybe taught what products to use to absorb the bleed. But after that, silence. Don't speak about it, don't talk about it, don't learn about it, and make sure nobody knows about it. And we kind of like thread that into how women are represented in business and in advertising and in every professional situation, is that we're always silenced about talking about salaries and lived experiences and stories. And so that's how these things kind of all became, where we had a product idea that we patented, that we could have just sold the patent and gotten on with it. But we realized that this is a big opportunity and responsibility of ours as storytellers and as creatives and as women in business to represent females in a way that's never been represented before in this category, and to talk about this in a way that is super empowering and powerful, so that young girls aren't afraid of this experience, aren't embarrassed by this experience, and can learn about it to understand how to flow with their flow. We don't have to be the same exact every single day, every single month, every single year, because we're cycling people. Every single day of our life is one day that's placed on the menstrual cycle. But we don't know that. We're not taught that. We are told, again, we don't know who to talk to. I come from a family of 3 sisters.
So
I didn't know who to talk to.
I'm one of 4 girls.
Nice. And we still all had these isolated experiences in our bathrooms that then translated to these traumatic experiences out in the universe, where we were stained, we were traumatized, we were afraid to stand up, we were ashamed of or afraid to talk because we didn't feel like we had a place to speak. And it's also, though it's as a femme care company, the brand that we're building is really to try to encapsulate all of the problems around female representation, which is why being here to talk about this award and to talk with you from the Female Quotient and all of us who are literally fighting the good fight to get to a better place for female representation is what our brand stands for.
Okay, so let's just unpack this, because first of all, talking about female representation is so powerful. Talking about owning your strength and your power, and that this for you is not just a product, but it is a responsibility, and that you are paying this forward in so many powerful ways, for me is just so incredibly enlightening. But also you being such a role model to so many, and especially with period poverty, so many girls that when they have their periods are embarrassed, but this is all about strength. And by the way, men come from women, and if we didn't have our periods, the world would not exist. So let's just take this into perspective. I also love the story that you were wearing white pants, and it was an embarrassing moment. My sister actually had the same experience, was wearing white, had her period. It was a guy that actually told her. And this is where we need to be, that this is where is part of nature and life and how life cycles. And so I love the concept of cycling. I chase total solar eclipses. And so understanding how the world happens and it is the most miraculous moment when the moon covers the sun. And in my life, it is the most exciting moment to experience nature that way, and what happens, and the diamond ring effect. So let's talk about this. You built this company in 2020, the height of the pandemic. What was the inspiration? What was the aha, or what I call heartbeat moment?
Oh man, so we were both working at an agency called Art House at the time, another female-founded agency that was working exclusively on Broadway shows. We had brought in some other business, but the bread and butter was Broadway. When the world shut down and Broadway shut down, we had a moment of reflection where we wrote out the PPP loan, and then we were like, what do we do now? Moons has always been an idea that we've had from way back. It started in 2012. That white stain story was 2012. And this idea, we did a lot of due diligence on the idea, did the patent work, did consumer use tests. It was our side hustle, nights and weekends. It was a passion that was always there, but our careers were also taking off. So we were straddling both worlds for so long. When the agencies shut down and we found ourselves unemployed, it was a moment of, do we just hustle and get another job? Or do we actually do this finally now? And if now's not the time, then when? And so I remember the phone call. I was on the phone with Kaity and we were like, let's do it. Let's just do it. We can do this. And we started, and we just knew nothing about startups. We came from corporate advertising our whole lives. I went to art school. I don't have a business degree. And it became, like Kaity said, our whole life was trained in problem solution, brief problem solution. We knew what the cultural problem was, we knew what the efficacy solution was, and then we just translated that into how we're going to build this company. We will figure it out. If we don't know it, we will learn it. We will ask for help. We will tap into every resource that we have. We will work harder at this than we've ever worked at anything in our entire lives. And we say start ups and downs. There's a lot more downs than ups in a startup. It is so hard and so endless and on so many days thankless, but our why is what keeps us going, and why we are doing this, what we know this brand has the power and responsibility to do is what keeps us going every single day. So the pandemic was our moment where we were like, let's do this. And the people that we've met along this journey has been remarkable, and especially female founders supporting other female founders is just amazing, because women take each other seriously. And we know what happens when you put a collective of women together and start talking.
Yeah.
What was your favorite down?
Oh, what a perfectly phrased question. I think mine was, okay, so early on, as Rachel said, we come from big teams, right? Where you do this job and you do this job and you do this job, and we will very structurally, we have a process in place, and we will then put all the pieces together to create this beautiful outcome. And very early on, we were working on something, and I was like, I have no idea how to do that. Like, I just don't, but like, and Rachel's like, no, I certainly don't either. And there was a moment where we were like, who can we ask? We have a pretty big network. We have generous friends. Who can we ask? And there's a moment, it was the moment for me when I realized, like, no, as a founder, you truly wear all the hats. And God bless YouTube tutorials. You can learn anything. And so we frequently say, like, we have DIY MBAs. And it was the moment for me that it was, oh, no, our job descriptions are not our job descriptions anymore. This is what building something from the ground up is. It might mean that you're refreshing the tab to look at that segment of the video 422 times and like maybe crying a little bit. But it was the second after that we did it, that we taught ourselves the skill, and it has happened so many times after that that I realized, like, oh yes, all that grit and all that tenacity and all that just hustle energy that we were allocating toward being charming in a room full of guys, being endearing to clients, making sure our bosses saw us in early and saw us there late, and putting on a cheery face when we were working weekends without air conditioning. All the energy we were putting to that. And then one of the things we say a lot about moons is all the energy we as menstruators put toward managing our cycle and not having the resources to do so well. All of that energy we finally were able to put into ourselves. Mm-hmm. And what a dream to realize that all that energy you're allocating for everyone else in your life, if you put to your best friend and your biggest dream of your life, like, might work.
I really believe in that. I say when purpose meets passion, you're unstoppable. And it's just really true. And it is clearly not in a textbook.
Right.
And, as a female founder, I always say you got to be the first, the second, and the third. Because the first, you got to build the ecosystem, you got to make all the mistakes, and you don't win.
Right.
The second is the copycat. Everyone copies what you've done, but they don't know what's under the hood. And the third is the sweeper.
Yes.
They ride in on the white horse, and they win. Yeah. So you have to be the first, the second, and the third.
Right.
Because no one is going to beat you at your game. So that's what you got to do. So
amazing.
I love those stories. Okay, so show us what you got here.
Of course.
Okay, so Duets is a first of its kind tampon plus liner system. And that seems like it's not a big deal. It is a humongous deal. So there's stats involved in this and why we are doing this. So 63% of menstruators in the United States choose tampons as their primary source of protection, which is 20 million women every single month. 40 million. 50% of those women, which is 20 million people, have leaks because tampons alone just aren't enough. So what women do is we improvise. What I always did, and what a lot of people, most people that we talk to, they put toilet paper in their underwear. And then they're walking around as modern women with big things to do with toilet paper in their underwear. That affects your confidence, your security. You're worried about it. Is it going to fall out? Am I going to stain? Are my clothes okay? Constantly looking, checking, tying sweaters. All these improvisations that we make to cover up what could be the inevitable stain.
How many of you women do that? You know you do. It's true.
This is the head nod moment.
Yeah. So the liner together in one pouch, you don't have to think about it. It's convenience. It's superior protection. The liner catches the leak. So you no longer have to worry about having those traumatic moments, having the leak and stain, not being protected, not having your clothes be ruined, your upholstery, your towels, your sheets, all of these things that we have ruined from our leaks. This offers superior protection against any other single product in the market. And we did consumer use.
Smart, very smart.
Thank you. We did
smart.
Consumer use tests with this because we were like, why? Yes.
Why doesn't this exist?
Yes, people can buy both of them together, but they don't. Yes, people could wear both of them together, but they don't. And that's why we all have these stain stories, right?
But also, if you did buy them separately, you would never remember to put it together.
To
the
pack it together.
Fishing in your purse.
Yep.
Smart. Okay.
So we did consumer use tests with ages 18 to 35 with flows super light to super heavy. And the results came back 100% intent to purchase, which we used P&G's methodology. We had P&G FemCare alumni facilitate the use tests for us. They had never seen that in their life. They couldn't believe that.
I'm the queen of research.
Yes.
I've done research for over 37 years.
Right.
I've never seen 100%.
It's a big number.
65 is their green light.
Yeah.
Number.
They even told us to lie about it. They're like, no one's going to believe you, so you should fudge it.
I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I thought about that for a while, and I'm like, but 100% of people who tried it wanted to buy it.
I buy that.
So
I agree. I would agree with that.
Yeah. So that was the moment we were like, we have something huge on our hands that's going to solve a major problem for 40 million people every single month, just in the US alone. And so we did it. And so we started sourcing manufacturers and suppliers and 3PLs and just getting the community built, and we built Duets, and it's the first of its kind. And we know, like you said, first, second, third, we know there might be fast followers and copycats, but we also know that our brand is doing so much more than just superior products.
So that's just the product inside. One of the things we're really, really proud of is the box itself. Here you get a little sneak peek of our sort of mantras, respect the moon. A dear friend of ours actually came up with that in a brainstorm session in Rachel's old apartment, like eating pizza on the floor. But that's kind of our rallying cry to everyone, like respect the moon, know about your body, be comfortable talking to your partners, your sisters, your daughters about this. Have recognition that this is a natural cyclical process that is like deeply part of Mother Nature, and like hold space for that. And so to really sort of double down on that, on the back of every box, we have this iconography system for the full menstrual cycle. Culturally, we talk about the 5 days you bleed, like throw on a product, like get on with it, don't make sure nobody knows about it, and then like, I think it's a cycle, it comes monthly, and then you think nothing more of it. Maybe you think of ovulation if you're watching movies or trying to get pregnant, and then everything else is just sort of like yada, yada, yada. There's a reason, though, that when you go to your doctor, the first question they ask you is when is the last date of your menstrual cycle, the date of your last menstrual cycle. And so we really brought that to the forefront and gave so much real estate on our box to that education piece. And so it's just kind of an outline of the full menstrual cycle. We talk about the average number of days, emphasis on average because no two cycles are the same, and that's really important to know as well. Hormonal shifts, energetic shifts, and it's a just overview of how to think about your body through that lens. And so that's been important to us from the very beginning because, as we mentioned earlier, once we really started to talk to folks about this, we realized like none of us know anything about our bodies. And sadly, you don't really usually start to learn something about your body until there's a problem. Medically, emotionally, trying to get pregnant, trying not to get pregnant. Like it's always in high stress moments, and who can learn when you're trying to stave off an issue? And so by incorporating it into daily behavior and to really make sure that it's easy to engage with, that feels like a momentous opportunity for us. And we want to make sure that that's in the vocabulary and in the way that people think about their bodies. And so that sort of goal informed our second product, which is Phases, about the four phases of the full menstrual cycle. And so we worked with a hormonal coach and a local New York City candle maker to develop 4 candles for each of the 4 phases. And they behave as aromatherapy tools. And so in each is a little overview of, again, the sort of what's happening hormonally in your body, what's happening energetically in your body. Doubles as a bookmark for further research.
That's nice.
And then the 4 candles themselves, which each have their own sort of signature scent and are designed to really make you feel good in that moment. It's a candle set, right? Like, who doesn't like a candle set? But we think of it as a bit of a Trojan horse product. Like, you buy it because it's candles. But what it's really doing is providing an easy way to start to engage with this mental framework and to think about your cycle and your body through this lens. We also we talked about, it's so common for this to feel like a women's issue, right? And we're really keen on ensuring that it's a human issue and inviting men into the conversation. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're so pleased. This candle maker is just extraordinary. We're so keen to make sure that it's a human issue and to invite men into the conversation. And this is such a giftable way to start to know a little bit more, to show allyship, to be supportive, and to start to adopt that language so that you can be aware of whether it's your partner or your parent or whomever, their cycle and their reality and their experience as well. So we're really excited about Phases.
We are, and what we learned this year, researched the Pinterest trend report that comes out every year. This year for 2022, one of the top trends was mindful menstruation because of search terms like follicular phase and luteal phase coming up, like by 95%. Period care, 3 times the amount of search data. So we know that women are demanding more information about their bodies, and they're searching for it. So it's out there. It's a conversation that women are finally starting to be comfortable having. And so we
Mindful
want
menstruation.
yeah.
It's nice, right? It's got
Isn't
a
it
good ring to
wonderful?
it.
Yeah.
It's just
I never heard that.
no, and it's what we've kind of always been. It's been part of our why is understanding when you are in your luteal phase. That is when you are feeling a little bit more introverted. Your energy is a little bit lower by hormonal design. It's okay to cancel plans. You shouldn't do high impact cardio or strength training. You should do more light yoga. You should be eating certain foods. Same follicular phase, same thing. Like it's all by cyclical hormonal design. And women, again, are just taught about the days that they bleed. It's a period, it's dark, it's gross, it's shameful, you should be embarrassed, like it smells, you go away. Where the full cycle is really, really interesting and amazing. And if you understand it, you can optimize your entire life around your cycle. And how cool is that to empower women to optimize every choice that they make in their life by just having the information?
I think that is fantastic. Okay, so let's go back to being a female founder and raising money.
Oh.
And you use some statistics. There's some that love stats, and we talked about less than 2% of VC funding goes to women, less than 1% to women of color, which is absolutely abominable. Have you raised funding? And for all the no's you get, you obviously get a yes. So let's talk about the yes, and of course, all the no's.
Yep, I am so happy to talk about this, and thank you for bringing up this conversation. It is very important. And again, aligning the advertising career with now female founding career is, I remember when the 3% conference opened because of female representation as creative directors. I was one of the only female creatives on any of my teams for the first 12 years of my career. We're now at around 13%. Female funding is another area where we need to change the ratio. Less than 2% of female founders are funded. There are billions of dollars in the VC, PE, angel of equity space, and women are just not taken seriously as business people.
Hello. How could we not be funding female founders?
Right, yeah. And so, though we have been very, very, very grateful for the men allies in our circle. We have a lot of men on our cap table. We are so proud to say that the majority of our cap table is women, mostly strategic angels, because they get it. They get the conversation. They get the why. They want to make it better for their daughters. They're all in. It's a quick conversation with women.
All right, so let's get to best advice for female founders.
Surrounding yourself with people who share your same moral compass and who you can trust indefinitely to get through the many, many, many problems that are going to come your way. So founding this company with Kaity is single-handedly the best decision that I've made for the company. And it took me a while to get here, to be honest. And it was right in front of my face the whole time. Kaity and I have been working on this brand every spare moment that we've had, but it wasn't until very recently that we realized that we are the people to do this because we share all the same values as humans. We grew up together in advertising where at one point I was technically her boss.
Don't use air quotes, she was my boss.
But
my mentor and dear friend.
But what we've learned is that mentorship goes both ways, learning goes both ways. I've learned more from Kaity than I've learned from any of my bosses, technically.
What did you learn from Kaity?
Oh my God, how to problem solve. If something, like she just said in the beginning, so many things come at us every day that we don't know. And I've learned that sometimes I'm afraid and I'm in my own way because I don't know it. Kaity will be like, let's learn it. Let's learn it. Literally roll up the sleeves and we'll learn it. And that's every day. That's an everyday reminder. And Kaity's ability to thoughtfully craft everything that we do. Startups are scrappy and fast and quick, and there's a lot of, you just got to do it and get it out. Kaity will make sure that even when it's scrappy, even when it's fast, that it's thoughtful and that it's created and that it's a representation of the brand that we are building. And it's a remarkable reminder every single day that we are doing something very important, and we're growing a business, and we are going to be role models for the future generation of young girls who want to start a company and maybe don't know how. We always say we can't wait to get acquired so that we can invest in other young female founders and teach them everything that we've learned along the way.
Well, first of all, you don't need to be acquired to do that because you already are.
Yes.
And you are already inspiring so many others, and especially when we share your story. So
thank you.
That's so important. What have you learned from Rachel?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So we talk a lot about, there's the day-to-day stuff, the emails that need to get sent, the decks that need to be built, the orders that need to be placed, and there's the big picture vision, like what's the mission, emails don't get you out of bed in the morning, the vision gets you out of bed in the morning. And like Rachel said, she was my boss for a long time before we were partners, and what she taught me was you have to do both. You have to straddle the details and the vision. But I've never met a person who's so extraordinary at inspiring people to embrace the big vision as you. And one of the things we talk about so frequently is we're not just building a brand, we're building a company. We're building a place to work, a place to spend your time, to explore your interests and to grow your dreams. And you are so extraordinary at creating an environment where that feels possible and encouraged. And I've always felt so supported by you. And I'm so grateful for that, because I grew up in the agency world just trying to be the good one, the reliable one, the person that got their stuff done and didn't complain. And I remember scheduling 6 a.m. doctor's appointments because I didn't want to leave work at 10 to go to a physical or 1 or whatever. And I remember a conversation a long time ago where you literally sat me down and were like, let me tell you something about life. You need to go to the doctor, and you need to go whenever you need to go. And you need to be comfortable with that and trust that I've got your back, and the people around here will as well. And so she modeled the behavior for me that made me feel comfortable asking for what I needed, knowing what I needed, not squashing that down, and made me feel very, very capable to model that same behavior. So now, our Slack is just a gush fest of our staff, of our team. And it's like, no, do what you need to do. Like, I trust you. And I hope that you trust me to be able to ask for whatever you need and to know in your heart that I will do everything in my power to make it happen for you. And that's a muscle, right? I think some of it is temperament for sure. Like, you are just intrinsically generous. But I think that that's a muscle you build up, and I don't know I would have built it up if left to my own devices. So thank you, because I think it makes me an okay manager.
Well, I have to say, first, tell us all, how do we follow you?
Yes, so we have a direct-to-consumer website right now, ourmoons.com. That's where you can purchase Duets. Soon, candles launching in a couple of days. We have an Instagram, Respect the Moon. We have a monthly newsletter that we send out on the full moon every month. You can go to our website to subscribe. Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest. We're on all the social platforms at Respect the Moon. And we're hoping to gather a community of writers and creators and contributors. So if you ever wanted to write something, or if you knew other women, or you want to introduce us to other folks, we're trying to really amplify all of our voices and our stories. And so we are really looking for people who want to share their experience and who want to be published and come into the community of education and information. So,
the Female Quotient has hundreds of thousands of women in our community in over 100 countries. So we will be very happy to participate. And New York Festivals, thank you for the See Her Lens Award. And I have to say that you two are an amazing duo, and your product is beautiful, and I think you will do a lot to instilling and inspiring confidence for all women to own their strength, own their power, and own their period.
Yes.
And I think that it is just so incredibly important to share our stories and to stand in our moon.
Yes.
Truly. I think it's just absolutely beautiful, and you are bringing so much light to what is so incredibly important. I am so inspired by both of you.
Same to you, Shelley.
You bring value to each other, and I think that that's what it's all about, is, 1 + 1 is 11. And that is incredibly true. So have you raised the funding that you need, or is there an ask for all of us?
We have a pre-seed round open right now of $2 million. We've got about a quarter of it committed. We are looking for funding. We are looking for investors, angels, strategics, institutional.
You guys are rock stars.
Thank you so much. So are you.
Badass
So are you.
bosses.
Privilege to chat with you. We appreciate
Yeah.
the time.
So
Thank you, New York
incredibly
Festival.
wonderful.
Yes.
We love you, New York Festival. And David Sable.